We welcome you to Sports Talk. I'm Ted Emmerich. Last week, we recapped the girls' cross-country season at McKinney ISD. It's the boys' turn this week, and it's like clockwork for McKinney High under Francis Jones. The Lions made another run to the regional meet. Boyd did too. Coach Brad Patterson will tell you the Broncos wanted more, but this was a season that will go down in the record books. And Miller Loudermilk is back this week to look back at what her North boys accomplished. Also coming up, the Dennis Baker State Farm Scholar Athlete of the Week. This is Sports Talk. McKinney Lions keep rolling under head coach Francis Jones. Overall, 6 consecutive trips to the regional meet, including this season, as Francis joins us now. And what will you remember most about this particular season?
Well, this season, it's we always kind of gear up for different meets as we go along. Start off in a struggle in which, kids are we're trying to find who's going to help fill in the gaps. Knowing that traditionally we go to the same meets week in and week out. And I said, well, guys, we're going to go some different places and see if we can find ourselves, because we've always been just close to being on the outside looking in. I said that we need to try to establish the boys as opposed to just McKinney as a whole, establish the boys. So we went to a couple different meets, and it would always been the focus that we know we're going to run well as the season progressed, but going to some different places that the times didn't necessarily project what we were able to do. But in terms of finishing first, second, and third, because we were going for success as opposed to trying to build up like we normally do, just try to build and build and build and then get to the end of the season. Well, I wanted those kids to have some hardware this year because they had a lot of seniors, 11 seniors, so they needed to start taking trophies back to the campus, as opposed to watching someone else and we're trying to build character, we're trying to establish some success.
That certainly paid off for you, leading to the district meet. You finished third as a team, advanced to the regional. What worked for you that day at Myers Park here in McKinney?
Well, it's a deal where week in and week out there was a different kid that came to the forefront. And from cross country, you want to make certain that because you have 7 run, we're hoping that 5 guys have a great day. When you run into a point where we're not real certain on who's going to be number 1, who's going to be number 2, 3, 4, and 5, or even 6 and 7, what worked is that 5 of those kids decided that the day was going to be a good day for them. We ran lights out that particular day. We had ran prior to the district meet. We ran there before. And we ran decent, but we ran well. The district, we all PR'd that day. So it was a situation where every kid ran well.
You lead into the regional meet, finished 20th as a team there in 4A Region 2. Nothing to be ashamed of for sure. Right. What was that day like in Arlington?
Well, of all days, of having 7 there, I think 1 ran great, and the rest of the guys just didn't have it. You say, well, we could do something different, give them another drink of water or whatever. But when you start looking at the first and second place team in our district, those 2 teams are going to state, and then say, well, we got to run, great races to have a shot at getting in. We thought we can finish in the top 5, taking nothing away from what our kids were able to do. But I know they were satisfied with the performance that we had. I tell those kids, guys, you're only going to run as well as you're going to run. And wherever that might be, we're not going to find out till the end of the race.
Senior Jacob Judd became your lead runner by the end of the season. He experienced a little valley early on, regrouped to be your number 1. How was he able to do that?
Well, Jacob was kind of, not scapegoat, because I'm trying to think of a better word for it, but I told him early on, Jacob, I'm trying to get everyone to catch you. So the focus is not on Jacob Judd, it's on McKinney High. So I needed kids to catch him so we can kind of bridge that gap between number 1 and number 2 and so forth and so on. So I think he understood that, but he still was looking for success on his own. So I told him a few things about halfway through the season. Okay, here's what you need to do to get going. And well, once everybody caught him, we kind of shift gears and start to focus on Jacob a little bit more. And then he moved back out in front, where he should have been anyway, where he was going to be. It's just a matter of trying to pull the team along. And I think he accepted that once I told him, hey, here's what we're doing, and here's where you are, and here's how you fit into that. And we did the same thing with some other seniors in the past to try to get the whole group to get closer together and then allow that person to take off later on during the year. And that's kind of how it worked out.
You leaned on another senior in Robert Wood. He was a rock for you all season. What are you going to miss most about him?
Well, Robert was a surprise to us, and we knew he had a little bit of talent, but if there was a hilly course, then he was like, oh, there's hills, because he's heavier than the other guys.
Sure.
And, obviously, he's built more for track. But I said, Robert, you need to work hard for 2 miles, and then wherever you are after 2 miles, you're going to be fine. Just make sure you stay close to the front, keep people in focus, because the last mile, you're going to be okay. So obviously, he coming through helped a lot because we needed someone else to step up and come through. And luckily, that worked for us.
Last week we talked with McKinney girls cross-country coach Clay Davis and how his seniors, Megan Shea, Tori Newton, helped transform the image of girls cross-country at McKinney High. It seems like your seniors certainly made their mark as well. Guys like Robert, guys like Jacob Judd, in addition to others. What kind of legacy do they leave behind after going to the regional meet 4 straight years?
Well, it's not the kids that you name per se that's going to do anything that's going to move us or keep us moving in the right direction. Other kids that, like Jared Inslee, who you don't read his name in the paper, he ran 1 varsity meet for us this year because he's at every workout. He works hard, but he's not going to be our number 5 or number 4. But kids like that are going to do more for us than the guy that's finishing as number 1. Cameron Walters, another kid. Some of these kids helped us as freshmen. Cameron Walters helped us as a freshman. Michael Oliver helped us as a freshman. So what those kids were doing during that period of time over the last 3 years have moved us to where we are. So we have some young kids that are taking advantage of what those kids were doing in the background, that I'm not reading your name every day, but I see what you're doing at practice every day and how you're working hard. Tyson, the guy that's always smiling, having a good time. So those kids provide something that most people don't see because they're not there every day. And it's a good thing about cross country is that by having seniors, they interact with kids every day. And then they can kind of translate some of the jargon that I may have that the freshman kids are thinking, God, what the heck does that mean? Because it's something entirely different. I'm a unique person just like the next person. So that's what they provide that most people don't see.
They set an example.
They set an example.
No doubt about that.
Right.
Just like Davis's girls team, your team hits the books as well.
Yeah.
Several named academic All-State, including our Scholar Athlete of the Week, Jacob Judd. It makes your grade checks a little easier, doesn't it?
It does. I don't check grades. I don't. I'll be honest with you. I always feel that it's those kids' job to do that. We had another one that came out, the Texas Coach Association had another, whereas Jacob was on that team, Tyson was on that team, Jared Inslee was on that team, Cole White made the team, and Cameron Walters made the team. And a couple other kids had 90s, but I think the cutoff was 93 for that particular academic All-State team. So those kids that I told them first, I said, guys, y'all are the geeks. That's what you are, but you're running. Not that it's a bad thing, but I told them, I said, guys, every teacher is also a geek because we want the school to educate people. So it's all the same. It's all the same for us.
As this senior class departs, they leave behind quite a tradition. Several great finishes at district leading to the regional meet, and now there's that expectation to go to at least the regional meet going forward. What does that expectation do for your program?
Well, it gives the kids something to kind of not necessarily live up to, but something to expect. When Cameron was here, Cameron Veneer, who graduated 2 years ago, I told him, I said, you have to expect to be up front. I said, because if you expect to be there, then it's not a surprise you look around and say, guys, I'm up front. So I think that now we are there. And I told him, I said, guys, these uniforms that we have this year, if I didn't think we would be where we need to be week in and week out, we wouldn't wear something that's going to stand out. And I said, so is that why you brought the new uniforms? I said, no, I bought the new uniforms because, guys, you've done your part to get us there. Other kids have done their part, so I don't mind showcasing kids that deserve to be showcased, and I think that's every kid. So let's change uniforms. Let's wear something different. We said, well, we wore stripes, those pinstripes before. I said, yeah, because we need to be on display. Let people see what you have and see where you are. It puts a little pressure on them to run well.
Francis, the future looks secure for your program with a few of the sophomores that you ran on varsity this season, including Matt Fontillas, one of your top underclassmen. What are you looking for from Matt going forward here the next 2 years in his varsity career?
Look for him to do as well as he should do. He expects to be there. He finishes number 1 at one of the races. He's been under 17 minutes. And he has a sense of what needs to be done. In terms of captains for next year's cross-country season, there's no doubt he's going to be that person. And we have some other kids to go along with him. The kids that ran well last year kind of took an off year this year to look around and say, well, you don't really need us this year, so I'm just going to kind of blend in. And I've been talking to some of those, but I told Matt, I said, you've looked around, you see what we need to do, what kids need to do, who needs to be accountable. And I said, what's going to make it all work is what you're going to require from your teammates. It's not about me. I mean, I'm just the one that's driving the bus. I'm riding a bike or I may be running, but it's those kids that have to get it done. So
Right.
I think he'll be fine.
No doubt about it, Francis. We always appreciate the time. Best of luck going forward, and hey, track season just around the corner.
Around the corner. You're right.
Francis Jones, head coach of McKinney Boys Cross Country. The Lions continue their success under Coach Jones.